It is summer of 1917 in the Alps, and you're a soldier of the Austro-Hungarian army. From your position in the trench, all you can hear is the shelling of enemy artillery. And once it seems like the artillery has ended, you hear loud explosions near you and the shouting of your fellow soldiers. And then you hear someone loudly singing at the right side of the trench, and you take a look, only to see all of your comrades lying on the ground with no bullet wounds. The only person left behind cover wears a heavy helmet. He looks like a knight. You feel afraid and impressed by him, and it seems like now is your time to face him in an honorable duel. Vaffanculo, cazzo di merda! You don't speak his tongue, and it seems like he has paid you respects. You nervously aim your rifle at him. You see, there is something different about this knight. Rather than a blade, he wields an Austrian machine gun? He shoots at the ground in front of you, making you fall back as he walks closer. You pull the trigger in fear. You miss. There is nothing you can do now. But although this seemed to be your end, he actually spares you. Is it mercy? Or is it the 10 lira that he's getting for capturing you? I guess we'll never know. Hey ups, my name is Jan, and this is the story of the Italian shock troops during World War I, the Arditi, or the daring ones, who, alongside their German counterparts, were the most feared troops of the war, and they were arguably the first true special forces in history. The precursors of the Arditi, the Compagnie della Morte, Companies of Death, were trained in July of 1914. These were infantry and engineers with the task of cutting or blowing up enemy barbed wire. Many of them wore body armor, something unusual in times of, shooting guns, and they had the easily recognizable Farina helmets. But our protagonists came not only from there, but also from many other Italian regiments, like the Bersaglieri and the Alpini, which were known for their stamina and skill. In 1917, partially inspired by the Austrian assault troops, the Jagdkommandos, Italy decided to create an elite special force on its own, the Reparti di Assalto. Their job was not only to break the enemy lines, but to straight up overrun them, using the surprise and speed factors during a war of trenches and stagnation. After the very first came from volunteers, the chosen were the straight up bravest. Those who had shown bravery in battle more than once, especially those who were embuttered by the noise of heavy artillery fire right next to you. Hence the name, those who dared. After receiving tests of strength, skill, and cold blood, they were thrown into training. The training consisted of a lot of exercise, the use of the weapons required, even the enemy ones, guns, grenades, and the old flamethrower. They were also intensely trained in hand-to-hand combat, either with weapons or without them, something that they will be very well known for later. They learned variations of judo and jiu-jitsu with Italian influence, and with intentions that were far beyond self-defense. The training with daggers was the most elite of them all, including the flower of battle techniques from Middle Ages and modern practices. The training was very real. The same tactics they will use in similar trenches to the ones on the battlefield, with real grenades and bullets. Many of the recruits lost their lives due to grenades, since their maneuvers included invading a position after throwing one or two. The fact of being chosen for joining a special force, the rigor of their training, and their particular disregard of danger, alongside the privileges they were given, made them the most elite forces of the Italian kingdom. They were given housing away from the front lines, were paid 3 times what the rest of the troops got, and received bounties for capturing prisoners or enemy weapons. This generated an aura of jealousy from the officers in the rest of the army, many of which got paid less than them. But they made up for that by being as capable of resolving seemingly impossible situations as they were handsome. No, really, these guys trained so many things they even did looks maxing apparently. Unlike popular misconception, most of them didn't wear heavy armor, but mostly light armors and a shield on their arm, mainly for resisting artillery fragments rather than bullets. The heavy armor was worn mostly at the early stages, thinking they would be resilient against guns, but once they understood that the armor drip was just as attractive to the Lady of Death, the only ones who remained in heavy armor were the ones with the task of, again, cutting barbed wire, and those who participated in battles that implied being under heavy enemy artillery fire. And of course, they did wear full suits of armor for photographies and propaganda, which was effective at making them a free boost of morale for the Italian and the wartime boogeyman for the enemy, immortalizing them as one of the most terrifying of the war. So them being perceived as knights is understandable, besides the fact that they were directly approved and blessed by the King Victor Emmanuel III, something that was at the level of knighthood. They acted in tactical pairs, which were made out of close relatives, friends, neighbors, or sympathetic comrades. Around 18,000 of them participated in the war, including a Japanese poet, Harukichi Shimoi, and a Catholic priest, Reginaldo Giuliani, who wrote about their experiences. Around 2,000 of them didn't make it back home. They will assault with not much more than knives, pistols, and maybe short rifles every now and then, which made the capturing of enemy rifles or machine guns convenient. Their assault tactics usually consisted of three phases. The first one was to advance beneath friendly artillery fire in a surprise attack, in which they will mainly use excessively loud grenades that terrified their enemies, making them think that the artillery was still shooting, besides singing the Italian anthem out loud for further confusion. The second phase was to intercept the fleeing enemies and officers, preventing them from enforcing a second line. And the last phase was to infiltrate the flanks of the remaining lines, essentially capturing the enemy position. The casualty rate turned out to be about 30% per raid. Their badges had the shape of a flame, and the flag of one of their regiments was a skull biting a dagger. The salute of the Arditi will be to raise their dagger with the right hand, and in case it needs to be said, this is totally unrelated to the salute of you-know-who. Their motto was, o la vittoria o tutti accoppiati, we either win or we all die, and you could also hear them shout Avanti Savoia, forward to victory. The Reparti di Assalto were very active during the Italian conflict against the Austro-Hungarian and German empires between 1916 and 1918 in the front of the Isonzo River, present-day Soka in the Slovenian border, which was a consequence of Italy declaring war on the Austro-Hungarian Empire with the interest of earning territory. They didn't get much of it in the end, to be fair. At first, in the battles of the Isonzo, they made scarce results. It was in summer of 1917, during the 11th battle, that they were the most successful in pushing back the enemy forces, capturing 500 enemies in August and 3,100 in September, besides plenty of weapons. And they would have won the 12th, the Battle of Caporetto, in October of 1917 if it wasn't for the arrival of the German forces, including their German counterparts, the Stormtruppen, who gave them what is considered to be the greatest defeat in Italian history, pushing Italy back to Piave, over 100 kilometers. But it was in Piave that two full assault divisions of Arditi fought in the Battle of Vittorio Veneto. 82 Arditi corps swam across the freezing river with daggers clenched within their teeth and began a surprise attack, timed with dawn, earning advantage for the Italian army. This was the last battle and victory of Italy during World War I, but 50 of them didn't make it back, either freezing, drowning, or in battle. They're remembered as the Caimans of Piave, and the present-day Italian Navy's Special Operations Unit, the Italian Commando, used a Cayman with a dagger as a badge in their honor. Another incredible feat was the conquest of Col Moskin by 600 Arditi in 20 minutes. 10 minutes of climbing and 10 minutes of fighting under the firing of an Austrian division during the battles of Monte Grappa. In 1975, the 9th Paratroopers Assault Regiment, the Col Moskin, adopted the flag of the Arditi, and alongside the Italian commando, are known as Arditi incursori, and are deemed to be the heirs of the Arditi. Most of the use of the reparti di assalto was unsuccessful, partially because they were not only the shock troops, but also the responsible for the assault at the same time, also provoking a lack of defense. Unlike the stormtrooper, for example, whose job was to pierce the enemy lines, leading the way for the assault troops, causing a better teamwork in the end. A few months after the end of the war, it was decided to disband the reparti di assalto, since the nature of the units was deemed fitting only for war times. And in 1919, the nationalist group of Gabriel D'Annunzio used the Arditi symbology and the use of daggers as their imagery. Starting in 1921, an anti-fascist movement in Rome did the same, the Arditi del Popolo, created by an anarchist and having both socialists and communists amongst their members. They fought the fascism. Their most significant event was the defense of Parma, where they forced 10,000 fascist forces to withdraw the city after 5 days of clashing against them. There were also Arditi-inspired units during World War II, like the Arditi skiers. There have been multiple movies about Italy in World War I, where you can either see the Arditi represented as the special forces, or as their mythical, knight-like stereotype, like in the movie Uomini Contro, or Many Wars Ago from 1970, or Il Caimano del Piave from 1951. And there is also Battlefield 1, where one of the characters you play is an Arditi engineer, with the gameplay of a modern-day juggernaut. Yeah, the ability of resisting so many bullets with a metal armor is not how it went in real life, but I've got to give credit to the game for giving you historical info as a prize for completing challenges. The grenade throwing one was insane, actually. But it seems like there aren't any historically accurate representations of the Arditi, right? Oh, wait. When you open the game Isonzo, the first thing that shows up is an Italian Arditi biting a dagger. And the game is mostly accurate to how things worked out over 100 years ago. The rifles are hard to use. The Italian machine gun, the Villar Perosa, is even harder to use. You die from one shot, by the way. And artillery is very loud and unforgiving. Like, it doesn't matter how good of a soldier you are, artillery just randomly hits you, you know, like in real life. And there is a perk that allows you to use the armor of the Company della Morte when you play as an engineer. And there are also, of course, art pieces and songs about the Arditi. My favorite painting about them is one in which the Arditi tickle death with a plant as they laugh and smile, which I think sums them up quite well. And from all of the songs and pieces about them, my favorite one is one that they sang themselves while they were marching. Al canto degli Arditi.
Ma non piangere, come diceva che tipo?
Io me lo ricordo,
La vuol cantare per noi?
ma la voce non ce l'ho, ma
Sì.
dunque...